charging his father with murder. It's just not the right thing for a son to do. But so he engages Euthyphro, who is a priest and a specialist, knows all about the gods, and he says, so you can help me with what it means to be pious, because they're charging me with not being pious to the gods. Well, at least you can give me some training before I go in there, and I can point out, okay, I'm an old man, I'm sorry, I don't understand how to be pious, but I'm at least getting training from Euthyphro, who's going to teach me how to be pious. So I'll be good, I'll be better. Well, Euthyphro says, sure, I'll help you out. How do you be pious? You do what the gods love. Which I think that's pretty much what Euthyphro believed was how to be pious. And how do you know what the gods love? Euthyphro will tell you, because he hears the voices, he knows what the gods love, right? Socrates now uses the Ellen method, however, and so now that he's got that initial definition out there, now he poses little questions that are easy to answer, but are going to get you in trouble, right? And so he says, well, and this is easy for him to do, because how many gods did the Greeks have? A lot, right? And they fight one another, right? And some of them are gods over this, and others are anti that, right? Like Zeus and Hera, for example. Zeus thinks that the best thing to do is to go out and fool around. In fact, every artist has to paint pictures of I don't know if I have to warn you about this, but so these are all different artists' renditions of what it's like for a woman to make love to a swan, or come close, at least. I don't know how that actually would work, but apparently Zeus disguised himself as various creatures and then used that disguise in order to fool around. He's famous for it. A bull, a swan, and for some reason this is really intriguing. Artists, pardon?
Just light in general. This one where he gets into the cell by turning into a shower of golden light for Perseus' mother.
The mythologist, thank you. That's great. But the whole point is, Zeus goes out there and fools around with all of these different, whatever, right? Hera is in charge of marriage, his wife. So do you think she's happy about this? No.
How does turning into a swan help him? No. I get the point of the story. Well, why isn't he just turning into a guy?
I think the swan is supposed to be symbolic. Something. That's my best guess.
No, it's a swan.
Yes.
Well, yeah, by animal.
I don't want to get in trouble with your
I
parents.
think she's just weird.
What the swan represents, I have no idea why he needed to be a swan to get that meaning across. No idea. The Greeks have weird stories, I don't know what to say.
Is that how centaurs were made?
They're a little different. They're different. That's another mythological being, but that's not a god that turns into a centaur.
Well, a god that turns into a horse. And then
I think those are supposed to be creatures that are horsemen.
That's how what the Minotaur came from. Was
Ah.
Zeus as a bull and then
Oh,
so I wasn't that far off.
I mean, every artist, it's not my fault. That's just true.
there's one that's blocked off by Safe Search. What's that one?
How did you discover it was blocked out?
It has the little.
It's got a little, like,
the eye on it.
Across town.
saw another one.
But you get the idea. This is going to be a problem for the Greek pantheon, because you have, I want to do what the god loves, says Socrates. And so, Zeus thinks that this is the way to go. Hera says no. So which god do I listen to, Euthyphro? Euthyphro can't really answer this. So Socrates comes up with a solution, a better question for him. And the question is, do the gods love the pious because it's pious? Or is the pious pious because the gods love it? Should I try that again? Do it one more time. You can find it as you go down here. But it's a dialogue. And notice they're defining piety. And notice piety is that kind of thing that you can't picture as an object. It's an idea, right? I can't just draw a picture of piety. I can write the word piety, right, and try to define it. And so the question, and this is really considered to be like the fiat question that just trounces the idea that the gods tell me and I know the answer. And here's the question, right? Do the gods love the pious because it's pious? Or is the pious pious because the gods love it? So in other words, the gods loving different things. So Zeus loving carousing, or whatever you want to call that. Is that going to say, okay, so it's pious to do that? Or do the gods actually know, here's what the pious is, right? And so we want to know what the pious is so that we can love it, right? And by the way, we don't really need the gods to do that, nor do we need the priests who tell us what the gods love to do that, unless, of course, they're skipping the gods and getting right to what is pious. Because what we really want to know is what is pious. And how do we find out what is pious? We use our reasoning to figure that out and not listen to someone ranting and raving about, this is what the gods want, right? So that's the Euthyphro question, right? And by the way, Euthyphro can't answer the question. He's all frustrated and he leaves, which is probably what Socrates wanted him to do, because now he doesn't have to wait so long to be on trial. But it hasn't helped Socrates, because obviously he still doesn't know what it means to be pious when he gets there. And we've got 3 different individuals that are charging him with impiety. And how does he defend himself against that?
Bruce asks, he wants to clarify, do you think that I promote or believe in gods other than the gods of the Greek state? Or do you actually believe that I am a true atheist and I have no supernatural? He tries to trip.
That's kind of an interesting question, because I wouldn't say true atheist. I don't think there are true atheists possible until roughly around 1750.
Okay, it's like a naturalist.
AD.
Or
So,
whatever he's referring to as.
yeah, does he not believe in the gods, not treat them appropriately? Yeah, and he argues that he does. And in fact, the reason he's in trouble is because he does value Apollo, and explains to them that, Apollo is the one that's told me I ought to be asking all these questions from people. right? So the reason you're mad at me is because I'm doing what the gods love. But they don't-
That's against impiety, is that he is doing what Apollo wants him to do.
He thinks he's being very pious. But he does infuriate everyone because people think that they know something important. And when he asks them about it, like Euthyphro, it turns out that they don't know it. And the Elenchi, or the method, is considered rough. You know, it's a mean thing to do to someone who says that they know something and then ask them questions until they realize they're confused and they don't really know what they thought they knew. That's mean to do. But Socrates thinks that it's more important for someone, when you've got two people that don't know something, the person that doesn't know that they know something, but thinks that they do, can't explore to try to find a better answer. Whereas the person who doesn't know something and knows that they don't know is better off, because now they're going to go and search for a better answer. They're open to more possibilities. And so Socrates thinks that you're better off knowing that you don't know. And he's always defending himself by pointing out that I don't know these answers. You're acting like I know the answer and I'm not telling you, but I don't know the answer myself. And I think the real reason for this, as we'll discover with time, is that there is no real answer to these kinds of definitions. Still today, we'll give you multiple definitions for love, for justice, for temperance, for friendship, and so on. But when you get right down to it, you feel like you can't quite know exactly what it is. Does that make sense? You feel all elevated now? Well, they killed him. Right? Because they were still pissed off. So they didn't get the point as far as... There was a close vote, though. And actually, I think it was, 30 votes? Out of, 500? I mean, it almost got off, right?
Yeah.
But as we know, he famously was encouraged to drink hemlock. Now, here's a neat thing. You know, when we... what other questions might you have about the apology? Like the arguments that he used? Must be great teachers out there. Yes?
It seemed like he wasn't doing himself very many favors, especially towards the end. You know, you don't have to be repentant and all like, oh, I won't do it again, to not be like, I'm the best thing for you. You like, he seems quite. I can see why you pissed 500 people off. You know, even
Or at least little over half of 500.
There's an even funnier thing about that. I think the vote determined if he was actually guilty of any of the charges said that he was not guilty, but then the second vote of whether or not he should be killed was that he should be killed.
Especially since he came up with the idea of permanent vacation at your expense, you know, for me and my family, right? There is a neat thing, though. According to the law, if they did put someone to death, the society was obligated to take care of the family afterwards. So he was getting his family a pension, basically, by dying for this. But when we read the apology today, yes.
If he was the wisest
Are you Heather?
What?
No. Okay, I'm sorry. Who's Heather? Heather? Hannah. Summer. You're Hannah. Okay, sorry.
There's a lot of people.
I am trying to learn who you are, by the way. It's just, you know.
Sorry. If he thought that he was the wisest person, or like he was told that, right? But he kept on pissing everyone off with his questions. Why did he keep on doing it? Why was he so repetitive with it?
He wasn't the wisest.
He just got told.
And actually, at the very end,
But why did he keep on asking the questions if he was like, oh, well, obviously I'm not, because I don't know the answer to any of these questions?
About that in the end, he says that he would gladly give up like self-preservation of his life and his life in pursuit of the truth. Like, that meant more to him than staying on this earth.
Yeah, he was trying to martyr himself.
And it worked.
Well, you'd rather die against those effects than
Well, he was 70 years old.
Yeah, and he
And I
already had a bunch of
remember when I was
students.
70, you know. It was a rough time.
I have a question that,
Sammy.
no.
SAT.
That's you. I'm sorry.
Emmett.
Emmett.
It's more of a historical question than a philosophical question, but why wasn't he just ostracized? Why did they put him